Hello, Founder Hub community, and welcome to another Demo Day Wednesday. As you know, or if you're new here, maybe you don't know, what we do is we hold weekly live demo days directly on the Slidebean channel. So, this is a benefit for members of our Founder Hub community and our Slidebean community. They have the chance to pitch their company. For feedback or for questions or just to understand how they're doing with their pitch. And today's guest is Carlos Shields Davis from Landish. That's a full VR social media platform allowing communication in real time. Thanks for being with us today, Carlos. So as a reminder, Carlos will have 3 to 5 minutes to go through his pitch deck. Then for people on the YouTube channel, you guys can just comment directly on the chat live thingy on the YouTube channel. For people on the Slack community, you can just leave a message on the Slack community, questions and so on. So after he's done with his pitch, we'll allow maybe 10, 15 minutes for questions, Q&A, discussion, and so on. So Carlos, whenever you're ready, let's take it away. All right. I'm gonna time you, man. So just I'll let you know how much you took after the deck. Whenever you're ready.
Landish is a full VR social platform allowing communication in real time. Through a series of virtual lands in the metaverse, users will be able to communicate with each other and socialize, just like they would in real life. The current problem with social media is that it's boring. My market research of moderate gamers aged 13 to 28, 58% of them thought social platforms are boring. This includes UI, this includes color schemes, and just the typical way you communicate with people, text boxes. The interest in VR is skyrocketing, with 73% of millennials already being interested in VR. And of the 171 million people who already own headsets, 77% of them want more sociability. They want more interesting content. But the problem is these big powerhouses, they're just being safe rather than being interesting. Our solution is to completely modernize them. So we'll have a diegetic UI. This means the menu will be a part of the world. So rather than you just scrolling up and down, you will be able to utilize gestures and other really, really unique ways to communicate with your environment in order to make things happen. This will be in full VR. So you will have a 360 field of view while everything is happening, and you will be using the same graphics as the biggest game studios. We're going to add an era of social realism. This is a phenomenon in VR where you lose track of your physical body and you completely associate the world with what's going on in front of you. And because we have a team of over 24 artists, we're able to create worlds based around one central theme, allowing for deep engagement. And you can seamlessly switch between these different worlds. So if you're on like this one, with a gesture, you can go to the next. This is with no loading time, no wait screens, no anything. How it works. You're gonna pay a microtransaction of 21 to 42 cents in order to enter our premium worlds, because we have a strong dislike of advertisements as well as data mining, which over 80% of millennials not only dislike, but mistrust. So in order to gain our income, we're gonna have users pay a small amount in order to enter our worlds. And if they don't wanna pay, then they can enter a free world. Then users will be primed with music and several visual cues in order to immerse them into the metaverse. With our team of artists, we have been creating content in order to supplement our income. So this is for musicians, startups, and visual artists. We've created over 300 minutes worth of paid content in the last 3 months. We've also garnered over 2,000 playtesters using sites like Reddit and Discord. We've sent them the raw file and they've played it and gave us our feedback. We have over 500 hours worth of user feedback. Our business model, we're gonna host content creators. So we're gonna allow people to send us their worlds, and after being vetted, they're gonna pay a nominal fee and a small percentage of their revenue will be given to us. We're gonna have an in-game economy similar to Second Life, where there's gonna be assets that will appreciate or depreciate in value. The average user spends about $58 per year on these. And as I said before, we're gonna have a microtransaction pay-to-play model. The average user will spend about $4 to $7 per month. Our market size in the US alone on the gamer side is about 36 billion. And our competition, as I say with the legacy houses, is they create really, really boring, stagnant content that people don't want. They lack sociability. They lack presence, which is the actual immersiveness. They lack palatable gameplay mechanics, which are things being new, as well as the metaverse mechanics, which is you're just stuck in one game all the time. You're not able to seamlessly switch between. By 2022, the consumer VR market is going to be 200 billion, and the global gaming market is already 136 billion. VR is growing at a rate of over 58.2% a year, and there are currently 171 million VR users worldwide. Our progress to now, we bootstrapped 28K due to our content creation. This is the creating content for different people. We demoed at several VR arcades around the Great Lakes region, garnered over 2,000 play testers, and developed a constantly growing team of over 24 artists. Our team is me, Carlos Shields Davis, the CEO. I'm a graduate of Founders Institute, Draper University, and current college student. Denise Rodriguez, our CEO, she's a self-sustained artist, fully paying her way through school strictly due to her visual art, and she's a current MBA student. And this is our team. This isn't even a quarter of our team, of our content creators. These are many different artists, from musicians to asset designers to painters, videographers, photographers, etc. These are the people who are helping to create the world you know as Landish. This is a small preview of a world we did a while back.
Well, what I'll do is I'll make sure I link that, or send me that video as we wrap up the call, and I'll link that to the in the comments so everybody can watch without the lag that we get because of the live stream. So that's cool, man. That was 6 minutes and 10 seconds or so, just for you to know. Some quick comments on the deck, and again, everybody watching, I noticed that there are like 15 people watching live. So guys, please leave a comment, questions. What do you think? Is this something that you would use? I guess these are good insights to Carlos. Yeah, from my end, I think that what you're doing is rather ambitious, and that's great. The kind of like my first concern going in through the deck was, okay, this is a very ambitious project. Building. You mentioned Second Life. You can obviously, I'm assuming that we can certainly compare that to what's the Spielberg Ready Player One. This sort of kind of like everybody live living in this and interacting in this environment. Which is obviously a futuristic sort of ambitious project. So the first thing that I would focus on is building up your credibility before or as you talk about this. How did your credibility increased significantly during the deck? Why? Because you mentioned that you have 2,000 people that have tried the product. I don't know if you said 500 hours a month playing or 500 hours a day. That metric just speaks to credibility, to people actually enjoying the game. Speaks to the fact that you've been able to sort of penetrate this market. I agree with you with how I've experienced VR from the very crappy kind of like concept projects that there are simply an interface that it just becomes boring after a few minutes. Sort of like advanced VR arcades, which I tried in Tokyo, and it was really, really cool. So I've experienced kind of that stream, but most people haven't. So most people and most investors I would expect haven't. So you have to really make sure that you build this credibility about what you're building, about what the traction that you've gotten. So that's cool. on your business model side, I'm assuming that you need millions of users for this company to be sustainable, if not hundreds of millions. So you may want to rethink that. Speaking, take this all with a grain of salt. I'm not an expert in the gaming ecosystem, but yeah, maybe you do need too many users before you can have a sustainable business. So maybe you can target a smaller audience first with a larger subscription or a larger charge. I have a question here or a comment from someone in the audience, Sandeep. He says, I really think it's pretty ahead of its time. It's cool, though. It looks like it's inspired from Ready Player One. We've both mentioned Ready Player One. So, was this an inspiration at all, or a reference to you guys?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was like a really really cool book when I read it. Then when like I seen the movie, it just kind of like I don't know, like actually seeing it, it was like really really cool. And I want to make something. So it's kind of like the Oasis, just not as dangerous and not as.
That's cool. I think that a challenge there is a challenge for Ready Player One to become true, is whether someone can really nail that online interaction, so that people spend time there. I don't think that it's happened yet. I'm not saying it can't happen. It just hasn't happened yet. But from you as a business standpoint, you also need to build a business that you can, that obviously that it makes money, but that you can, more importantly, it can get to that point, right? Whether it's via fundraising or via or just generating some revenue and then just paying part of the operation with that. I would guess that kind of like an investor seeing really good traction. We had a good conversation with the CEO of Vivino a couple weeks ago. You can check that out. It's a video from a couple weeks back. Kind of like a take that he had, unrelated, that a little bit relates to your case, is they didn't raise money on the revenue that they were making. The app Vivino was one of many competitor apps. It was a crowded space when they launched, which again relates a little bit to where you are. It's not necessarily a crowded space, but a lot of people are trying to solve VR and nobody has done it, right? So the reason why they were able to raise money was because they were positioning themselves as the winner app, like they were going to win this market. And that's maybe the story that you have to tell. If you can tell that story, again, according to this guy, if you can tell that story of you dominating that market, you have a chance of raising significant capital. Just because people will know that money eventually will come. That by you dominating this market and becoming the key player, there's value in that company. But you need to position yourself as that, or simply just go like the rest of us and focus on a business that generates revenue, and then get a valuation based on that. Another common question from the audience, Christopher. So sorry if I missed this. I got a little bit late. Is the target market gamers only, or are there other target markets like small businesses, advertisers, agencies?
But from the content creation side, we're working with different small businesses and musicians who want content creation, as this is the only way to really fund it. But we're targeting gamers first because they own VR headsets. But as it goes, we're gonna target millennials and Gen Xers who just want to use social media. The content creation is gonna be something completely separate when we actually get the prototype.
Cool. Another comment, reply from Ahmad. Great, go global. Find you some interest. All contents, Far East, Americas, UE. Yeah. Okay. I got it. We got it. I had a question, but it slipped my mind. Let me see if it comes back. Anything else that I can help with while this comes back to me, because it was a good question, or anything else that I can help with, or anything you want to ask the audience?
Yeah. It takes about 8,000 users per month to have so it's like 8,000 users per month for a revenue of like $1 million. So how would I kind of throw that, I guess, like into the slide? Because you were saying I need something that shows like the revenue. But just with the microtransactions alone, I would need about 8,000 users a month for $1 million of revenue. How do I make that sound Uh,
8,000 users a month for $1 million of annual revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my thoughts with I like the $1 million milestone, and obviously for a lot of us as entrepreneurs, kind of like generating $1 million plus revenue is certainly a milestone. We threw a good big party when we hit that. um, I wouldn't put it as that. Like $1 million is not really $1 million in annual revenue is not a good milestone for an investor, because it's not that much money really. It pays for a smallish operation. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money for a company. And what you really should be focusing on is growth. Like how fast does this grow? How many new users are you adding each month, or how many do you expect to add? The charts that you shared are good. Like they show that you've had some significant month-over-month growth in users, and you should do everything you can to keep those charts like that. Like you have 3 months worth of data, but they do look hockey stickish, as in exponential growth. If you can keep that chart for a year, and you have that recurring uh, that constant adding of new customers and active customers, especially. You talked a little bit about well, I'm not sure if you were referring to monthly active customers or just people who tried the platform. But if that monthly active users number is constantly increasing, it proves that your product is sticky, that people are willing to come back and use it again, and that's something that people are willing to invest money in. Not sure if that answers your question.
Yeah.
Cool. Adding another comment from Sandeep. Sandeep, we really need users to get into a habit of using VR first. I have a lot of friends who own VR, but they are still not so much into it. The task is making them get out of the current social app to invest. Yeah, to invest time in this. I totally agree there. It's a little bit of a challenge of behavior, and we talked a little bit about that before. Can we really change this behavior? In the end, let's say time spent on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You're spending this time, I don't know, while you're on an Uber or even when you're having dinner or whatever. Like you just check this as a very casual thing. On the other hand, with VR, you need to sit down, take time, sit down and use the VR app. So I don't know if that direct comparison to social media is that accurate, because I can't be in the office and check. I can be in the office and check Instagram for 5 minutes, but I can't log into a VR thing. So I don't know if social media is the immediate comparison. I think that it relates more to gaming, to the time people spent gaming, like console gaming. I'm assuming that your system works on your computer. I'm assuming, is it mobile?
Computer, Xbox, phone.
Okay, yeah. So you need to be home, and you need to be sitting down, and you need to have a room and a VR headset. So that that today that's a smaller market. That just defines a smaller market.
Fortnite, like Fortnite.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But even with Fortnite and with the success of Fortnite, anybody can play Fortnite. It's free. It works on a mobile phone, and on any console, and it's cross-platform. I'm assuming you guys are cross-platform as well, but the limitation there is your VR headset. I don't know how many headsets did Sony sell for their PS box, but I know there weren't that many. So that those are things that you need to consider. I think it's about this adoption thing, right? You have to be realistic about how fast people are going to adopt VR, if at all. And it's that experience, right? It's being able to replicate that experience. My question came back to me. Great. Um, how's Second Life doing? I remember that when that was a huge thing. I don't know how it's evolved with today. I haven't kept up. And this is obviously a product that you can use to compare what you guys can pull off.
Right now, Second Life it's got like a little cult status thing going on. Like people kind of left it alone, but we got a small number of people who are really, really into it. Like 300,000 people make their living off creating Second Life assets, selling them. The creator now is doing something called High Fidelity, which is similar to Second Life, but it's a full VR platform. It's kind of teetering. Like he's having a hard time getting people on board because, like I said before, it's like a legacy platform where it's really, really important.
Okay. That's a good reference, I think. The Second Life story, how many people are still using Second Life. Again, it was huge in the early 2010s, late 2000s. I know it's certainly smaller now. The question is, how is there people still are there people still using it? I think that you have the answer to that. Adding another comment from Sandeep. Sandeep says maybe you should add some other revenue source within the app, like most of the apps, because everybody loves free cookies. Yeah, it's this question, right? Like if you're able to raise money and keep this free and just grow to millions of users, then that's just great. But what investors would be betting in here is you being like the dominant platform. Once again, take a look at the Vivino AMA session. But if not, like if you're just going with if you don't have the capacity to get be that market leader, then just make a business that generates some revenue, maybe not even profitably, that just some revenue, and then you can sell and position your business to investors based on the revenue that you're generating, conversion rates, and so on. So it's two approaches that you can take. One is like the high risk, high reward. The other one is also high risk, but potentially less. Obviously, potentially less scale. If it's paid and if it's a subscription and you have to pay for it, you're obviously limiting the audience. We all like the market dominant, everybody's using this approach, but sometimes you just can't afford it because people aren't willing to put money into that yet. That's a little bit of a challenge, but I think that you have good stuff on your pitch deck. I think overall the pitch deck lays down the idea very well. I would maybe move this product demo earlier on so that we can understand a little bit of how the platform works or how it looks. I think it looks really good for this being an early stage company. Having spent $20,000 or so, you have a solid experience from what I could tell from the video. So make sure to brag with that early on. I think that your biggest challenge in this deck, like I said, is credibility, and you have to build it with these user analytics and the product itself, which I think holds up. Comments from Vinay. No, Vinay. If Vinay is asking a question about his own company, Vinay, I'll reply to you. Join the Finder Hub community. The link is below, and we can discuss this because we just like to focus on Carlos's pitch deck for the session. We can do other AMAs later, but shoot a message in the community and we'll discuss. Carlos, I don't know if you have anything else to add. We're running out of time now. Anything else that I can answer or anything else that you want to ask?
Yeah, so I just want to ask a quick question about credibility. So how do you think, I guess right now, over like the next 3 months, to kind of add something to make it realistic, since we're just starting off?
It's about these users, right? I like the example of Reddit because we've from my personal YouTube channel and the Slidebean YouTube channel, we've tried to promote this on Reddit. And I always say that the Reddit audience is very ruthless. If they like something, they'll upvote it to the front page and it'll get a lot of exposure. But if they hate it, it'll just go down and nobody will see it. And if you've managed to get traction on Reddit, I think it speaks very well about people liking your product and people willing to try it out. It's a really hard test, Reddit. And if you've passed it and you have people excited there, I think that's a very good sign. I would try to leverage that to increase that number of customers. And then Reddit is just one platform. I don't know how many millions of people are on Reddit, but it's just one platform. So you also need to prove that you can scale your business beyond Reddit, beyond 2,000 users. And it's obviously a challenge to do that if you don't have any money to invest in marketing and growth. But the product itself, even without any money for growth, a product like yours should be able to grow. I don't want to say virally. I want to say organically a little bit. Maybe you don't duplicate your users month over month, but you see a constant number of monthly active users, people that are coming back to use the product because they enjoyed it, and those users bringing in other users. Again, there's a metric called the virality coefficient, which says that for a product to be viral, each one user needs to bring one other user, so that that creates an exponential curve of growth. You don't necessarily have to have that yet. The product's not done. You don't have any money to promote it, but there should be some virality, some referral, some growth, organic growth, because if your average annual revenue from a customer is, I don't know, $58, you won't be able to spend a lot of money acquiring that user. You have to go, have maintenance costs and whatnot. And if you think of it as a SaaS product, you're only allowed to spend a third of your lifetime value. So that's $20 to acquire a customer. That's very little. Unless there's an organic factor to growth, it's going to be hard to sustain. So you need to prove that there's some indications of this organic growth, and more importantly, retention, people coming back. Some questions came in while I was talking, so let's do it. Let's add them in. Christopher asks, can you talk about the stack a bit more? What's powering it on the back end? Are you using something like Amazon Lumberyard, or did you build it from scratch?
So we built this using Unreal, and for the multiplayer aspect, we're going to use Spatial OS. And ideally, you want to use a blockchain platform, which means instead of it being central servers, we're going to have different nodes all over the globe, like hosting, and we're going to pay people in cryptocurrency in order to do this. But right now, we're going to use Amazon in order to host it, because getting a blockchain server started is not really easy.
Cool. It makes sense.
It makes sense.
It's a good approach. I'm hearing myself. All right. Okay. Saying hi to Niraj. Thanks for watching. Sandeep, thanks for the good comments. I think you have some fans out there in the comments. Carlos, you should check them out as we hang up. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. We are running out of time now. Carlos, thanks for joining us today. I hope you got some good feedback from everybody.
Thanks everybody for watching.
If you want to try the product, Carlos, be sure to drop us a comment on how we can do that if someone's interested. And again, to the audience, thanks for watching. We have another demo day coming up next Wednesday. Stay tuned to the stuff that we're doing either on our YouTube channel or directly on the FounderHub community. All the links in comments. Thanks for watching. Have a great Wednesday.